Well, all right, this is where I left you off. There's our filler, all thick and nasty. So next step, 40 grit on this guy. It's a regular air file, Ingersoll Rand. And we got this guy here from Astro Pneumatic. I think that's the 11 incher. And we got our DA. So 40 grit, 80 grit, and this one we're going with 80 and then 180. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to keep coming back and forth like so, and we'll keep a bit of a 45 angle just like you're blocking. And what you want to try to do is, you'll see the rocker has a little bit of a curved shape. We're going to keep that all the way to the back axle, and then we'll come up and we'll basically blend this upper spot in with the bottom. And then the quarter will just blend it as best as we can into the car that it looks straight. Now in the last video, both sides were rough. Now you can see here, I already did everything I just explained I'm going to do to the other side. But if you look up close, there's a few places where we got little wormholes, air pockets or whatever, and that kind of sucks. But basically we got to fill out all those low spots. And right here we had metal that was a high spot. So you see the dark marks. We used our pick body hammer and we knocked that in a little bit, creating it to be a low spot. And there's a low spot there. So we'll fill that. We'll fill that. All the other stuff I showed you. The rocker's mostly pretty good. And then you get here, there's a little bit of a low spot there. Now we could probably sand it out, but we're going to lose our shape, right? And you don't want to do that. So here's another spot. We had a big low spot there, so there's a little air worm there. Actually, I think this is where we filled the front end and when we started over, so it is what it is. And there's a low spot right here. And I mean, we're talking paper thin. That might be the worst one there is. Now here you can see where when we bored it in, those little spots, that's fiberglass showing, those two are metal. So the moment we saw those, we stopped. You can't feel them, but you can see them. But what happens if you keep sanding is the metal won't go down, the filler will, and those will be like outward dents. And if you do that, you got to do what I did back there and smash it in and refill it. And you can see where all the repair work was. A decent primer is going to smoothen that right out. We're happy with that. So we'll fill all our low spots first. Then we're going to run a super thin filler coat across the whole thing, just to put enough meat on that we can go into our, I'm probably going to do a 220, a 320, and a 400, and we'll block that in by hand, and it won't take long. Now, as far as time goes, to block this all smooth, plus that piece back there, and the bottom, and up around in here, underneath, I probably spent about 2 hours. The other side, I figure, will take an hour. I don't know how long it'll take to put the filler on, an hour or so, tops. Board filing another few hours. So there's a lot of work to this. And in a way, there might almost be more hours of time trying to fiddle with this, like because we're trying to fix a car and just blend it up into the body line. Yeah, so the downside to that, there's a lot of extra hours to make everything work. But it is what it is. So make sure you're charging for that. Some of these dirtier jobs, you know, where it's almost easier to restore a car on a big level. Of course, it takes many, many more hours, but you're going to have a much better product. But again, we're talking multiples of thousands of dollars to get it there. This is not that. This is, we're just going to fix up the rust, get rid of it. You know, we basically just cut the rot off the car, put metal in, and we're filling it in and blocking it into the rest of the car. This car was done in the 80s, and it's pretty much Bondo filled everywhere. I guess I could say filler, but, you know, you get the idea. So we still got to weld up some holes in the bottom of the door and fill in them little spots. But, yeah, it takes time. So I showed you the tools we're going to use. You should be thinking safety, right? You don't want to breathe all that junk in. So get yourself a couple of these, lots of these filters. The filters are done when you can't breathe good. You'll know. And then This is just a welding cap or whatever. Keeps the dust out of my hair. I also had a long sleeve shirt on. You know, just less dust on you. Not that it, maybe it matters, maybe it don't. That's up to you to decide. Now, let me show you these. I'm going to put them up to the filter just so the camera will focus. These are Axel Ghost Strikes, and I think they're Ghost Strike 2. At any rate, both sides do a different thing. So on the right, you see there's a little Bluetooth emblem. So you can pull up Bluetooth, and these basically work like earbuds. So I can like listen to shows or podcasts, music, and have them in my headphones. But this side is on, and then there's a plus and minus. Well, that's for sensitivity. And what that does, when you put these buds in, they basically act as earplugs, and you don't hear a whole lot. But by turning that on and going up and down, you can basically listen to sounds of a certain decibel, but it will eliminate anything over another decibel. So basically, I'm listening to my podcast on my headphones, but when I run the air file, I don't necessarily hear all the decibels of the air file. Cuts it down to nothing. These are awesome if you like shooting sports. You can have a couple of guys, you know, shooting at targets. If everybody's wearing these, you can hear each other talking, but the shots are pretty muffled and quiet. You won't blow your ears apart. Anyway, if you don't got a pair of those, these are just fine. Or you can be deaf like old Uncle Charlie. What? What? Anyway, we all got a few of them back in the day in the family, right? But yeah, so think safety a little bit. Anyway, I think you're all caught up. I appreciate the views, and thanks for watching. Cheers.